So for those who have not met me before, my name is Arielle. I am a data and AI strategy manager.
Modern Data 101 presents the Modern Data Masterclass.
Hi everyone, and welcome to my first masterclass. My name is Arielle, and you may have read my first article that I wrote with the Modern Data 101 community previously. I assume that would have been now a year ago or so. And kindly, the team has been asking me to run a webinar about the data product marketplace and seeing exactly what that single interface for the business really means. So for those who have not met me before, my name is Arielle. I am a data and AI strategy manager in Accenture, and I am specialized in data product enablement, data governance, data management, and I have recently relocated to Copenhagen. Previously, I was living in Montreal, Canada, where I founded the Data Product Meetup community. I am also now a recent member of the committee of the Danish data science community and a member of the data product leadership community led by Brian O'Neill. As I said, my focus has been mostly around developing data product strategy at scale, executing on that strategy and following on the implementation to really help leaders and organizations to achieve the data product mindset and really drive value from data. I have worked across a breadth of industry, including telecommunication, financial services, transportation, and in my most recent experience, mostly pharmaceutical organizations. So today, there is a fairly large agenda where we will be focusing mostly on why are we talking about enterprise data marketplace today? What are the key drivers? The key components of a data marketplace and the different functions that it is being enabled by that marketplace. Who are the users or the potential users of the marketplace? We will look a little bit more into how do we look at the publication of a data product within the marketplace and what needs to be considered, and then the implementation option. What is best, building your own solution in-house or buying an existing solution? And then finally, I'll touch upon the data contract, which of course is one of the tools that you can potentially find in some of the marketplace solution, and that drives exactly the interface between, I guess, the business who is using the marketplace and then also the data engineering world. So very exciting content, and I'm really looking forward to jump into it. So why are we talking about enterprise marketplace today? There are about 6 large challenges that organizations, especially large organizations, are typically facing. Number one, and you may recognize some of them. Number one, difficulty to locate the data. In large organizations, the data tends to be very fragmented, very siloed, which makes it very difficult for data teams or business analysts to locate what is the right information and where do you find the right information. Some of the access to the data, if you manage to actually locate the right data and the right information that you need, then tends to be operated by different line of businesses, which means that those line of businesses are trying to restrict or at least they are a little bit more cautious about how to share the data across the organization. Lack of common understanding. Sometimes the data and the attributes that you find in some of the tables and some of the source system may have a meaning to you, but they may also have a different meaning for the line of business nearby. And therefore, if we don't have a clear understanding and a common description and a common definition of those data, then you can see that the interpretation of that data tends to be ambiguous. And you will see, for example, in certain leadership meetings, people start discussing how the metrics has been calculated, how is that being done, what's the information that is actually conveying, and you tend to focus mostly on the data rather than actually making strategic decisions. The lack of trust in data, because we have a poor data lineage practices, very poor metadata practices, a lack of documentation. All of those, I guess, lack of information makes it very challenging for consumers to actually truly understand, one, where the data is coming from, what is the transformation that has been applied to get to where we are today, and then also how the data is being used. And so all of this creates some lack of trust in the data. And you will see some line of businesses, instead of trusting the report that they are getting from, for example, a centralized data team, they will tend to extract the data from, let's assume, SAP, and then create their own report and validate that the report that they have is aligned with the report, the report that is being managed by the central team. The lack of user feedback. So most of the data and AI teams tend to work in siloed to the business. They don't tend to get a good feedback, or at least commentaries and information about how the data that they are managing and the analytics products and solution that they are building is actually being embedded into some of the business processes, and how can it be improved to actually support and optimize what the business process and some of the key strategic decisions are being made. Which links to the final one. There is no clear link to business value today. In the past, it was very easy to invest into some data and AI solution without having a clear understanding of what is the business value. But today, in the data and AI space, we are facing some challenges, especially around justifying the return on investment around data. So we need to have a clear mechanism on how the data is being used and what type of value does it bring to the business. It can be very tangible value, so a financial dollar sign can be allocated to it because he has enabled to make certain business decision, or it can simply be a time and commitment value. For example, if our business analyst is taking 2 or 3 weeks to actually just locate the data, streamlining that process means that actually this business analyst would be a lot more efficient. And that is also a value that we bring to the organization. So let's keep this in mind. What I'm going to walk you through is to show you that actually today, data analysts, data and AI teams tends to focus on data search, coordinating, cleaning most of the data. And we always say in the industry that it takes about 80% of the time and 90% of the job to actually get to the point where you can do the shiny solution. And for example, creating a dashboard and really make a decision on some high quality data. And some of the key figures that I have seen in the industry when talking to my clients is it can take actually up to 3 months to just locate what is the right source of data and assess actually whether the data is reliable or not. And then the second most popular challenge or most visible challenge that I have seen is reaching agreements on, for example, KPIs logic. It's a constant challenge and it's a constant struggle to make sure that everyone is aligned on the calculation method. So then it's truly representing the business and how the business is thinking. And then the third challenge that I have seen, and it's very much taking from my own experience, is actually getting access to your data that is outside of department is often it brings a lot of effort and processes. And what people tend to do is that they actually increase the network and rely on the internal relationship to get access to that data. And that's not an easy ask. So now imagine if we actually remove the time that we have been spending on searching, coordinating, cleaning the data, and that we can finally focus and allow the business to actually focus on solving problems, creating true value, delivering business opportunities, and truly understand or enable the business to make those strategic decisions or to optimize some of the operation, or to maybe personalize some of your marketing effort without having to constantly rebuild any of your data pipeline and question whether the data underneath is of quality. So I'm conscious this is a large challenge that most organizations are facing, and I'm not saying that the marketplace is the only solution that will solve all of those problems. But then what it does is actually that the marketplace can partially provide, or I guess tackled some of those challenges. So the same way as Amazon has been focusing on the product and the consumer excellence, what the marketplace is providing is that unified enterprise view of all of your data, regardless of the technology that you're using, the databases that they are sitting on, the application where you source and generate the data. It does not matter on the technology side. What the marketplace is providing you is that seamless experience or shopping experience that you could have with your Amazon, with your App Store, or with your Google Store. So what does it enable exactly? So the marketplace is enabling 3 core functionalities. Number 1, it's find and search. So can you discover, can you explore your data? So you will have access to the data, the definition, where do they see, so some of the business description of that data. You can preview some data sample. You can see the feedback of the data of people who are using the data. You can understand the quality score, the SLAs. So you will actually have visibility of how the data is being exposed, what is the quality of the data, and make conscious decisions before even requesting access to that data. 2, publish. What the data product owner can do is now make their data product visible and have a space where they can market the data they are working on. Hence, he will be responsible of providing those descriptions, providing those performance metrics, and really make very much get an understanding of how the data can be shared across the organization. Then 3, manage. So as a product owner and as a governance lead or as a business leader, what you can really do is establish standards and policies and monitor the performance, notify your users when there is any performance issues or incident, and also leverage some of the feedback that you are getting in the marketplace to groom your product backlog. Or you could also use the marketplace to truly understand, is my data product really used today? Is it worth having it active? Or should I actually consider archiving it and potentially developing a different data product? The reason being that all of the business behavior changes. And I think COVID was a very good example where we went from going to the shop and then to, I guess, an intensive online purchasing behavior. And so some of the organization also had to adjust. And so some of the data may no longer be relevant and could have been, if it was managed as a data product, could have been actually decommissioned or archived. There's 2 flavors of data marketplace. Number 1 is the internal marketplace. So that's very much to enable your employees around how do they use and can they leverage data in the day-to-day, and what type of data are they able to access. The external marketplace, however, is a platform where you can actually share your data between organizations or even directly with your consumer or directly with your suppliers, your partners, and those are usually seen as paid services. It might not be the data marketplace internally and externally, may actually be the same, or may actually be 2 different UIs. But we will not be drilling down into this question. So now the next question is, who is it really for? Who are the potential users of that data marketplace? And you see, I have built a prototype that I will show you later, so then we can stay tool agnostic around the marketplace, but it will tackle all of those personas and how they can leverage that persona. That will be on the second half of this webinar. First, the most obvious, the data consumer. Of course, the data consumer as an end user will be able to discover, access, consume, validate the quality of your data. So then he can also propose new data if he doesn't think or she doesn't think or they don't think that there is a data that actually answers their needs. The data product owner, as I said before, create, publish, manage data, manage data products, and have this watchtower, a way to monitor and analyze the performance of your data of the data product. From a governance perspective, the domain owner, the governance body, very much have this helicopter view of how is my domain doing? Is there any duplication across my domain in terms of data product where I could potentially make some cut or merge data product together? Has the quality standards? Can I optimize my portfolio to make it a little bit more efficient? And from a governance perspective, can I establish some umbrella standards that can be used across all domains to make sure that everyone is following the same standards? We're talking about data product. One very much less obvious and it hasn't been implemented in a lot of places, and I've only seen one tool that is doing a really good job at it, is about embedding the business leaders and really understanding the business opportunities and how they are linked to the data product. And that is that part of the value realization framework that is always missing in data and AI projects. How do we make sure that we have a dollar sign assigned to your data product? So then we have a true understanding of what does it bring back to the business. And if that dollar sign doesn't exist, then does that mean that we need to potentially decommission and archive this data product again? And I think we really need to tie down in the marketplace the view of the business opportunities with the people who are creating the data product and the people who are using on the ground the data product. That gives you, on one side, the strategic vision, on the second side, the management vision around the data products, and of course, the operational vision, which is where the consumer are actually using it on a day-to-day job, on a day-to-day basis. So, in a nutshell, what does the data marketplace provide? So to fulfill the three functionalities, you will usually see, of course, a user portal where your shopping experience can really drive the adoption and the use of data across the organization. Shopping cart is the idea of having a way to request access and really detail out the reason why certain people will need access. Rate and review, so your user can provide you a rating and provide you commentaries on how you could potentially improve, or even provide positive feedback, so then people can be more confident and get a little bit more trust on your data. Again, ability to access and monitor your access the data, monitor your usage, so then as a data product owner, I can really understand who is using it, why are they using it, do they need to use it, and are we compliant from a regulatory perspective around managing, or I believe in pharmaceutical, we have a lot of regulation around GXP. In Europe, we have GDPR. So we try to limit and make sure that we stay compliant to those rules. Publication and monetization, of course, ability for any, what we could call vendor or data producer, to publish some of the data while still meeting some of the minimum standard requirements that is guiding what a data product is. And monetization, it's probably optional, but having this visibility of, if I were to put a price on my data product, what would it look like? Would people still buy it? And being able to have the metrics to say the cost is actually smaller than the benefit that I'm getting. And with the idea also of setting up a chargeback model for consumption, with our subscribers or users having to pay potentially a monthly subscription or a pay-as-you-go subscription, where you really get the money to invest into the team that is looking after the data product today, but then also investing into any improvements that can be done to the data product. So having said all of this, I might go into a little bit more technical diagram, which is more about the interaction between all of the components that we've been talking about. You may recognize some of them. So marketplace and data product being at the center, with the idea of having data agreement, that enables the data consumer and the data producer to agree on what are the terms and conditions, what is the expectation between how the consumer is using it, but then also from a producer perspective, how is the data really created, and is there a limitation that the consumer should be aware of? The data engineers should also have the ability to see the data agreement and then execute upon it. So then it stays aligned with what the consumer requires and what the producer is expecting. All of this, the data product should be hosted on a data platform. And here I am not specifying the type of data platform, but then that data platform should also provide some standard delivery channel, or what we could call output port. And this is where some of the consumer will be able to access the data product. And as previously mentioned, when we talk about marketplace, we tend to imply selling price, and it's always an interesting model to see how we can sustainably fund our data products in the future. So I'll deep dive a little bit into the detail and the publication process, and maybe some of the forums or working groups or a collaboration model that you should probably consider throughout the data product lifecycle. So at the moment, I'm only looking at the data products first release. Let's assume that we are just developing a start. We have identified with the business a need for a specific product, and that product has been identified and designed at a very high level with a clear description. What's interesting is we need to think about how do we embed some of the agility mindset, especially around testing fast, failing fast. So the idea of having a first go, no-go discussion and setting up some declaration of intent directly onto the marketplace enable to understand whether there is a need and there's a wider appetite than just the use case that we have identified. And so the marketplace here is also a way for us to propose data product without having them into production, and provide the same level of information as we would with any type of productionized data product. So let's assume I am very interested in developing a data product. I have found through 2 use cases. I publish and declare my intent of building a data product, and someone else in another department is asking me, oh, I'm actually very interested in this one. This is definitely something that I've been wanting to look into. Would you mind if I actually join and help you shape and give you a little bit more requirements so then it can also fit my needs? That's an ideal scenario. Then once you have the go decision, then this is where you can start gathering some of the low-level requirements. What are the exact attributes? What's the SLA? What type of data quality check you need to put in place? How often does it need to be refreshed? How much historical data do you need? And start designing your data product with the support, of course, all of the business that has been declaring the desire to use that data product moving forward. Never lose that we should always consider the business and the consumer as part of that requirement gathering, as well as the design and the build. So then they constantly see the progress, how it is, and how it can be used moving forward into their own business processes. Then we move on to, I guess, what we call stage 1. When we have a nice design and most of the requirement has been captured, then this is about validating that, yes, we have the get-go. I think stage 1 and stage 2 sometimes can be merged together, but at least it's before we build or before we're going to scale, we could do a prototype and make sure that the prototype is aligned with what we expected. Then once those are being approved, and same thing, the data product management forum is very much a place where IT, data, and business are discussing those conversations, are having those conversations. Then we can start building at scale, testing the solution, deploying the solution, and once everything has been approved, then deploying the solution. That's the final stage. Once you've deployed, then that's where you can start looking at how does your data product, can your data product be automatically linked into the marketplace with some release notes, a clear owner of that data product, and having some specific users already onboarded into that data product. So then if there is an issue or if there is a pipeline failure, then of course some of those consumers will be notified, and then a specific SLA will be provided to say, today, I don't believe that you should actually be using the data because of X reason. However, we will aim to fix that data issue or the data pipeline by tomorrow 4 p.m. Having just this visibility and that line of communication directly to the users is something that would drive trust, and that would also ensure that the business is not making uninformed decision on data that has not been updated. I know the visual is very linear, and as you can see in the way I've talked about it, some of those steps needs to be repeated. We need to ensure that we are constantly iterating on some of those decisions and making some changes as we go along. The last thing that I wanted to talk about before we actually go into the demo is the value measurement. And this is taken from an organization called Mindfueled by, the tool is called Delight, but then the organization that has developed this is Mindfueled, which I believe is one of those rare solutions that actually try to link our business opportunities with data products. So I would strongly advise to have a view or have a walkthrough of the solution. What it does is that actually a business opportunities, yes, it is about people, yes, it is about processes. And when it comes to data, it's not only data products, but what it is you will have an analytical product, which will be fed by some what we could call source line, and the naming convention of data products and the definition of data products will always change based on your organization. But if you look at the literature, then you will have those source line data with those aggregated data products very much feeding into this analytical product. And those could not be in place if you did not have some type of IT solution or IT product on the top to be able to host those data products or even capture the data required. Before the last point that I wanted to talk about is very much the evolution of the data catalogs to the data marketplace. That's one question that I've been receiving, which is, but I have a data catalog. Why do I need a marketplace? And of course, the data catalog is a very good starting point, and it's an essential tool when you are implementing some central data platform. What the data marketplace is an add-on to your data catalog, only filtering some of the work that you have done in the data catalog and making the most useful information from that catalog available to most people. You'll also see that actually some of the data that you will find and some of the information you will find in the marketplace are actually not available in the catalog at this point in time. I am not saying that some of the existing solutions are not looking at embedding the marketplace into the catalog, or at least making it a unified solution. But at this point in time, what you can see is that there is a miss of business information, business context. The marketplace enable you to have this very nice UI. And then the data product is more of a logical concept rather than a set, which is a set of table, of course, but where the marketplace will give you those table level information, what the data product marketplace will give you is this holistic view and how those tables are working together within the data product. And we can delve onto it a little bit more after the session, of course. I will not deep dive directly into the implementation options, and I do think that there is a wealth of solutions being developed today. And as I mentioned, a lot of native cloud solutions such as AWS and Databricks and Google Cloud Platform are also looking at building marketplaces. on the top of the existing data catalog solution. What you should consider is always one, of course, the user experience. And what I will give you in the next section of this video is an options where you can build your own marketplace and what are the customable, and you will see that they are very different from the existing solution today. Internal versus external facing. Some of the marketplace by nature will only be internal, and it will be technically challenging to make that marketplace external facing or client facing. The skill set, of course, having a team that is able to maintain, build first, and then maintain your marketplace. And then integrating the marketplace with the rest of your data ecosystem. You need to have the right people, and you need to have the budget for it. I think this leads to the dimension 4, right? The cost of licensing and the cost of infrastructure. If you decide to buy or if you decide to build, is extremely different. And whether you have more capex than opex is also a question that you need to be able to answer before you make your decision. I slightly touched upon it right before, which is the integration point. The marketplace needs to be integrated with a lot of the ecosystem that you have, so then you can start looking at automating some of your workflows. And for example, notification trigger when a data quality check is not met. Those needs to be mapped to your data quality solution, of course. If you want to be able to request access directly, then those should be linked directly to your data platform, or potentially a tool that is actually managing the access on your behalf. So something that will sit in between your data platform and, of course, your marketplace. I will cover this one right after the demo. So what I have done now is I have built, and I am very much loving this V0 dev web, which allows you to build a little bit of UI or front end without having a much coding experience. But then what I have done here is creating an enterprise data product marketplace the way I would see it, or the way I would envisage it. And you will see it has changed since the slides that I've created, and I made it a little bit simpler to navigate. But of course, you could start with the data consumer. So as a data consumer, what I would do is I would directly explore the data product. Here you can see that across all of my categories, and those could be your data domain, I have all of my data product being mapped out. What it gives you is a data product that has a name that I can understand, a small description, a view of who is owning it, some information about the quality, even if I don't really understand how the quality is being calculated. Given that this is a standard score across all data products, that also gives me a sense of direction. When the data has been updated, and some of the SLA information. So uptime, latency, refresh. And then what you can do, of course, is either request a sample, because you already know that this is something that you're looking into, or you can view a detail. View the detail to make sure that actually this is very much aligned with the business or the information that you're looking for. What in that detail, what you will see is the name of the field. So here we only have one table, and this is all about the customer behavior analytics. It's a sample, so nothing very complex. And then you will also be able to see some of the quality metrics around completeness, accuracy, consistency, timeliness. And you could always add a little bit more information around what does that really mean. And having a view of the history on how has it been doing over the past month or over the past 6 months, to really see whether the quality is consistent or it has a lot of, it's very unstable. The SLA, of course, as I've mentioned, what's the support response on how we are actually doing when resolving incidents, and then also some historical chart. The access method is one that we can standardize. So depending on who you are as a consumer, then you will have various way of accessing the same data. If I am a non-technical person who is only interested in seeing a specific KPI from the data product, then maybe the dashboard is the right option for me. If I am a data scientist looking for a specific data set so that I can run my data model or my or some type of advanced analytics model, then maybe I would opt for a more technical access method, which I can directly link to the data, to your own data platform. You can see you can also directly contact the data owners if you have any questions, and you will also get additional documentation on the side. So it's a very business-oriented view of what data is available to you. You will see there is a consumer dashboard in my own prototype where you can really understand what's your active subscription. How many data products do you currently use today? How many did you request access and you are still pending for approval? And then also, can you propose new data product based on some of the needs that you have identified? And so the button doesn't work, but at least you have a button to suggest some data products. What I will show you here is some example of data product proposition where I would love to actually have a near real-time inventory optimization data. What does it mean? Can you give a little bit more information? You can estimate some of the value and then see whether it's under review and the priority level. I will try to click on view detail, but I did not believe I created that view yet. So that would be a way to also share with some of the data teams additional needs and a view of exactly how the business is going towards. You can also view your own usage analytics on how many API calls have you done, what's the volume of the data that you have been consuming, and maybe in the future there could be something that can be used so that you can manage your own cost. And you can really see how data-driven you are being. Then let's move on to your product owner. So if you remember, the data product owner is leveraging the marketplace mostly to publish, monitor, and manage. So it's very much across the end-to-end data product lifecycle, and it will be connecting with every other stakeholders that we've identified. Data consumer, domain leaders, governance team. What I will do is I will go directly onto the owner dashboard, and you'll see that same here. You can see the number of data product that the person has created, the number of consumer across all of those data products, how many access requests did the data product owner receive and that they need to look into, and also whether there is any issue that has been detected today and whether you need to take any action. You can also, of course, the same way as the consumer can propose, you have the ability of publishing. And that could also trigger some workflows where if you decide to publish declare your intention to build a data product, then that will trigger the domain manager or the data governance team a request for assessing the new data product. Here you will see a view, of course, of all of your data products, the number of consumer, the quality, and whether there is any performance issues. What you will also see is some of the access requests and then take action directly, whether you want to approve or deny, or maybe adding any comments. So then you better understand why those persons need access to this data. The same way as the consumer can see some of the usage metrics, then the data product owner can also see some of those usage information and being able to make an informative decision on how to move forward with those data. You will see the number of contracts that you have with certain consumer to see whether any of them needs to be reactivated or needs to be reviewed or needs to be changed. So then next is the domain leaders. So the domain leaders, as I said before, is managing the portfolio. So it's this helicopter view. For a specific domain, let's assume finance, I would potentially have multiple product owners. So we hope that the collaboration between those data product owners may be smooth, but let's assume that this is not the case. And therefore, we need that domain leaders to actually have the ability to manage the portfolio, have the way to assess whether there are any duplication, and also review some of the proposal, so then the person can allocate the right budget and the right resources. The same way as you have it for the domain dashboard, then you will have it at the domain level. The number of data products that are being enabled as part of your domain, some of them being published, others simply being proposed, a compliance rate to really understand, are my data product being compliant to those minimum standards? And a view of the potential duplicates in terms of data product, and then a view of maybe based on the usage, then we should decommission some of those data products. If I look at the potential duplication, then you can see, for example, here, the consumer behavior analytics and the consumer insight data may actually have the same attributes. So here we'll have a view of the potential duplicates, the name of the owners, and you can start comparing, notifying the owners, and resolving it. Same for the decommissioning candidate. You will see here there will be some reason for recommendation. So low usage being one, minimum business value, because the business value is minimal as well compared to the other data product. And maybe that there is a duplicate actually. So as a domain owner, what I can do is either contact the owner, try to do some impact analysis, or start directly the decommissioning process. You can see as well that in terms of downstream impact, this is also being assessed. Same for this one. Here you can see that actually this only contains historical data. There is currently no active consumer in place today, and it has been actually overtaken by a new data product with no business impact ultimately. So that really enables the domain manager or domain leader to understand exactly the states of the data product portfolio. Then finally, on the top of having those domain leaders, you might, or it is an optional team, you may have a centralized governance team that is setting the global standards, monitoring the compliance across domain, and very much doing some oversights and understanding whether each domain leaders are well equipped to be able to manage the data product. So if we deep dive into the dashboard that I have got for this team, is you can see that those people can create new standards. So for example, metadata completeness within some categories, quality metrics where they have defined maybe specific data quality metrics, SLA definition, so you may have some minimum standards around those SLAs, so on and so forth. What the global data governance team can also do is for each of the domain, with the view of the owners, then you can have a look at the status. This one has a good compliance rate and has a good status. However, in operation, you can see that we have 15 data products, great amount, but a very low compliance rate, as of 85%, depending on how you see it. What you could do is actually provide direct support to this to the domain and to Michael to see how can we improve some of those compliance. What you will also have is a view of all of the non-compliant products across the domains. So then you can escalate directly to the domain owner or generate a compliance report to really understand why is it so? Have we got any comments or any previous decision made around this data product? And how do we mitigate these compliance issues? And the same way as you would have it for the domain owner, you will have a cross-domain duplicates report, which will give you across domains this time, whether consumer behavior, consumer insights, or customer demographics are actually the same product, and whether you can consolidate. And the same way as you could do it with other Within the domain, you can compare, notify the different domain owners so then they can start collaborating or even start initiating a consolidation process. Days, as you can see, some of the high risk, some of the risk has been assessed as well, where you can see high risk and high similarities or medium risk, medium similarities, depending on how you measure. And in the sense of we want to make sure that the marketplace is being adopted, what you could also have is a domain leadership board that enables you to promote best practices and to recognize the hard work that every single domain has been putting in. For example, here, let's assume that finance domain has a very high score, and then we can provide some recent achievement and improvement and some recognition. I think the idea behind it is to start gamifying and putting some gamification within the marketplace and really much promote the best practices and try to bring everyone onto that journey. So there is a lot of potential, as you can see, for a marketplace. And as I've mentioned before, if you go for a buy market or buy solution or out-of-the-box solution, those functionalities may not exist. But I think we are getting more and more mature around what the marketplace can really do. And I think it's always important to keep your mind open to see what is the roadmap of that solution that you are buying, and see if some of those functionalities are actually already planned in the pipeline. I will slowly go back into the final point of my presentation, which is very much we've been looking a lot at the business and the governance and management side of the marketplace. But of course, there is the technical aspect where the marketplace also becomes a tool for data engineers. And it has been, there's a fair amount of literature around how does the data contract and the data agreement can help triggering and automating some of the data engineering work. And so for simplicity, what those contracts, if they are stored in the data product, in the data marketplace, will give you is you will have the UI and the front end available to the business for both producer and consumer. And then underneath, this data contract will be codified. And the way it is being codified is to ensure that all of the data quality checks mentioned in the data product marketplace, all of the SLAs, the ownership are also being trickled down to your data platform. And so it is very important when enabling the marketplace not to only look at the business value and the UI, but then also see how do we actually get some of this information from the marketplace directly into your data products, so then you can automate a lot of your pipelining and you can potentially automate the end-to-end management of your data products. So it is, to me, the foundation of automation, and then especially around automating some of the governance workflows. And it is something that not many organizations today have managed to nail down. In some of the clients that I have been working with, I can see that the data, we only look at the marketplace either from the business perspective or from a technical perspective. I think we need to be better at merging those two together and putting both the data engineering, the business, the data governance leads, and the IT teams at the same table to enable both experience. The nice UI experience that I've just shown you, but then also those automated data engineering opportunities. And the reason being that if we manage to automate this, then data engineering will be able to focus on more innovative work in the future. So without further ado, this is the end of my presentation. I must thank you very much for listening to me up to now, and I hope that you found the session very interesting. See you soon. Bye.
Access the Modern Data Masterclass for free on moderndata101.com/masterclass.